In 20 minutes' time, we've got some insight from China, which will be fascinating. But first, a really great contribution to today's debate about content workflows, how we engage with audiences. And that comes from the Chief Executive of Ebner Publishing in Germany. So please welcome our first speaker for this afternoon session, Gerrit Klein.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, you could have read the title of my presentation, therefore I don't have to repeat it, but I want to amend it a little bit. I'm going to speak to you about the 5 steps towards intelligent content, as we like to call it in our company. Before I do that, a short introduction of myself. I'm in that business for far too long, for 27 years now. I started in 1990, and that gives me a position, well, to have some opinions about the things we do and to have perhaps some ideas about the things we should do. Our company probably is never heard for most of you, therefore some quick remarks. We are a company which is dealing with special interest media and B2B media. We are producing directories, we are producing events for 25,000 people a year. We have a content marketing service unit, and we are running a couple of e-commerce shops. You find us here in Germany in 9 different locations worldwide. We are active in 11 countries. That all is of absolutely no importance. What is important is that we are a niche publisher. That means we are dealing with highly definable target audiences. We are not dealing with the general public. We are dealing with guitarists, we are dealing with keyboarders, we are dealing with watch enthusiasts, with graphic designers, firefighters, stonemasons, and a couple of different other professions and enthusiasts. We are not dealing with the general public, and that makes a difference to a lot of things I'm going to talk about in comparison to the things you've heard about that day. Let's take a look to these special target audiences. Here you see one target audience, and in the middle there's the core target audience, in that case the collectors of fine watches, and around that the enlarged target audience. We are trying to address these people through the magazine, and we are trying to address them through our portal, watchtime.com. Both are made from New York, and we are rather successful with this. We reach quite a lot of people. But what is more important is the part of the people we don't reach. And that's here, that's the so-called wide target group, as we call it. Why is it important? Because that's the part of the target audience where growth is possible. Now you will say, well, that's the same with all of us. We are producing something and we don't reach all the people we want to reach. But it's not about the product I'm talking about the piece of content, ladies and gentlemen. I try to explain it with that. That's a table of content of one of our magazines. And that man is a subscriber. He's paying 120 euros a year and he's receiving 12 issues. That man is reading in that issue this article and that article. He's not reading these 4 articles. He has no time, he has no interest, I don't know why. He is simply not reading it. If I apply this to the concept of the wide target group, then indeed the subscriber itself is a reader for 2 articles. But he's a non-reader for these 4 articles. That means we are delivering 4 pieces of content. He's simply not reading, and that means in that case he is a member of the wide target group, even if he's paying for the magazine subscription. But what is our real asset as publishers? No, not the product as you might think. We define for us that is our main asset, the access to a specific target group. But how do we gain it? What is the key to gain that access? It's content, nothing else. But do we deal with the content in the way it should be dealt with? We think, no, it isn't. And I will try to explain to you why. It's relatively simple. 3 words are enough. That's the mode publishers are working along normally. Publish and forget. A product is created, then it is distributed, and afterwards it's normally forgotten. And perhaps that's not the best way to deal with the most valuable asset we have. Perhaps we should think about this again, because we are doing all that work for one single shot. And we consider this to be a tremendous waste of energy, to do all this just for one shot. That's not enough. And therefore, we think that publish and forget should be a mode of the past. We told our people, recycle the content you have. We called it 3 years ago, write and reuse. Then we said, write and market it, because we think that it's a job of the editors to market it to the public. And today we are producing audio and video, and therefore we say produce and market it. But how could it be done? That's obviously quite a change. A concept like this is encroaching on the traditional workflows, and it is altering the editorial thinking. And therefore, it was vital for us to guide the editorial thinking as well as the workflow. And how did we do it? Well, we said the editors need some guardrailing, or to put it less mildly, we had to enforce that concept. And that means we gave them 5 simple questions. The first question is, for whom exactly do I create that piece of content? The second, what is the goal I like to achieve with this content? The third, which specific needs of the target audience I want to address? The fourth, which kind of content is available? And the fifth, where and how will I distribute this content? These are really easy questions, but there are concepts behind them. The first concept is the concept of personas. The second is the concept of content goals. The third, the concept of keywords. And then the concept of minimum information units. And the concept of multi-channel distribution. And I would like to take a dive with you into these concepts now to give you some understanding what we are doing. Personas, you certainly will know what it is. Every target audience consists of different subsegments, and personas describe these subsegments and allow to handle them. Therefore, we are asking our editors, before they start to work, they have to be crystal clear about for which persona they are going to work. Because they have to address just one. It's not possible to address 2 at a time. If there are a couple of personas, you have to decide which persona you want to address, and our editors have to do that exactly. The concept of content goals. To fill up a magazine is not a goal. And to fill up a site isn't a goal either. But content has to achieve goals for our understanding, and we gave our people 3 different goals. We said, perhaps you want to get reach within your target audience, the widest possible reach. Perhaps you want to get conversion, that means conversion to lead gen or to newsletter subs or to sale. Or perhaps you want to get visibility, that's a sheer SERP performance, that means you want to be on the first page of Google. But we told them, content without a clearly defined objective is a waste of resources. Only if you have an objective, you can measure, and only if you measure, you can regulate. And therefore, our editors have to decide, before the content is produced, what is his content goal? Which of these 3 it is? Just one, again, because 2 is not possible. Is it reach? Is it conversion? Or is it visibility? Because whatever you decide to choose, each of these goals needs a different tonality. If you want to get conversion, you need call to action elements. You need a totally different speech. If you want to get visibility, you have to deal with SEO questions. Therefore, they have to decide what is the content goal thereafter. Then third, analyze your target audience. Please analyze the search habits of the people you are dealing with. Monitor their social media habits, analyze related e-commerce platforms, extremely important, and identify the influencers that listen what these people are saying to the topic you are dealing with. And to give you a short example how we are doing it, I take a look now into Search Metrics. Search Metrics is a big data application. That's a tool which is monitoring the search in Google. And that's enough here in Germany because Google has a 95% market share. And if you know what the people are doing in Google, then you know what they want to know. Therefore, let's go through it a little bit. Some months ago, we wanted to know what the people are interested around the term whiskey. We are going into that machine, type in whiskey, and then we see what the people are looking for. We receive a list of search phrases. That list is ranked according to the monthly search volume. And surprise, surprise, the first mentions all are e-commerce platforms. Well, we sit down and go through that list, which is a little bit longer because there's a long tail of 1,000 words. We take a cup of coffee, go through that list. I myself, I don't drink that stuff, therefore I have no idea about whiskey. But after doing this, I had quite an impression what people may be interested in around the topic of whiskey. Well, we detected in that list that whiskey.de is a very important platform, it's an e-commerce platform, therefore we are going there. We see that the visibility is quite okay, that's quite impressive for a niche like this, and therefore we try to see which search phrases are driving traffic towards that platform. Again, search metrics gives us a long list. It's ranked according to the monthly search volume. We go through it, and unfortunately, the long tail is a little bit longer than before. It's about 13,000 words. We don't take a look to all these words. It's enough to look to the first 2,000 or 2,500. But we sit down again with a cup of coffee, go through that. And after this, I know quite a lot about whiskey. At least I had an idea what the people wanted to know about this. Okay, and the next step, we wanted to know which are the competitors to whiskey.de. The platforms which are using the same search phrases as they do. We see everything, the big ones. We see Blogspot, Idealo, we see Amazon and so on. But here are the real competitors, schottischerwhiskey.com, Whiskey Fox and so on. Okay, now we know which other players are in the market. We go back to whiskey.de, take a look to that list and eliminate every word which is not specific enough. Scotland maybe traveling, single maybe, something for partnership, and ghosts that has to do with the castles but not with whiskey itself. And sherry has to do with the barrels, but it's not whiskey itself. We eliminate all the words which are not specific enough. We download the rest. We do this with 5, with 7, perhaps with 10 competitors. We are going to merge these lists into a list we call the Google Visibility Report, and then we have quite a good understanding what the people are interested in. And if the editor is doing that from the analysis, he knows which keywords specify the interest of the target audience, and in planning his content, he has to take into account at least 3 of these keywords. Then detect the power of MIUs. Content is not monolithic. We call it minimum information units. That means an information unit which could be understood by itself. Each piece of content, each topic can be deconstructed. In America, they call it from time to time content atomization. We prefer the term MIU. And to give you a quick example, that's a quite normal article from one of our magazines. It starts on a double page, then you go into it, and here you find an abstract. You can use that immediately to publish it through your newsletter, through your website, through Facebook, whatever you name. That's the first minimum information unit in that article. There's a second one, and there's a fantastic checklist. You can use it immediately after it is created to offer it as a download to your audience to generate leads for it. Of course, there are some more abstracts within that article, and in the end, you will find an interview with a lady who has something to say in that audience, and you can take that interview again as soon as you have made it. That means this information unit alone contains 10 minimum information units at least, but if you've done it right, hopefully you have videotaped the interview, then you can extract the 3 main answers, and if you have video, then you have audio. Therefore, you should have 12. Well, and use all touch points. A magazine is not enough. We all have to use every touch point which is out there. We gave our people that matrix. We said, listen, there are the different channels you can use to address your target audience. And on the other side of that matrix, you see the different content pieces you have at your disposal. If you bring together both of them, you will see not everyone is fitting everywhere, but a lot of that stuff fits in a lot of channels. And therefore, use all touch points, because that's a bad part of the message today. For our understanding, it's the editor's job to create the widest possible reach. It's not the job of the marketing department anymore in our company, it's the editor's job. And if it's done right, then the wide target group isn't as wide anymore. You can address it through the magazine, through the portal. You can use your newsletter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Xing, that's a German equivalent to LinkedIn. You can use third-party blogs in cooperation. You can use in the B2B area, company homepages or Instagram, Amazon, Twitter, Pinterest, PR portals, you may name it. If you're doing it right, the wide target audience isn't as wide anymore, and you're reaching more people than you reached ever before. That's a philosophy we are following. We think that publish and forget is a mode of the past. It's today about produce and market it. And sorry for the editors, the job isn't done when the content is published. That is just the start of the process. Well, and I give you now in the last 2 minutes a short view into the machine room of our company to show you how we are going really to enforce this, that it is done in the daily workflow. You remember, these are the 5 questions we are posing to the people with the concepts behind it. And of course, we have to look after that the people are really using that concept in the daily workflow. We created a piece of software, we are calling it the Content Planner, and that's the tool we are using. The editor is going into it, is managing content, and then he's going to add some content. I'm going to pretend now that I'm Hans-Jürgen Heinrich, that's one of our editors, and he's starting to plan. And now he can choose, is there an external offer or is there none? In that case, there's none. It's relatively simple to choose his brand because he has only one, that's events in that case. And then he has to choose his persona he is going to address. We have 3 personas in that area. He's going to choose Kai Communicator, that's a specialist in that area. He can describe the topic he's going to write about, produce about with a few words, that's a description, and he can draft the first headline. He can change this any time in the process, but here he is typing in that a new hotel is built in Hamburg at the River Elbe, and it's a Hilton hotel, and that would be the piece he's working on. And his goal he has to define now. He says, well, in that case, the goal is reach. And now he already had made the first guard railings, as you can see. He has described roughly what he's going to work on. Now he has to decide which keywords he's going to use. Therefore, he's going into the keyword section. He's going to add new keywords. He can use them. He can choose them from the so-called Ubers. These are the group of keywords, in that case, hotels. He's choosing conference hotel and adding that keyword. Or he can use the autofill functionality. He can see, okay, I type in meeting, and then all the keywords we allow with the word meeting appear, and he can choose one. And perhaps you have realized it's about a Hilton hotel. Therefore, in the next step, he's going to type in Hilton, because he wants to use that keyword, but you will see there's no autofill functionality. Why? We don't allow that keyword due to SEO reasons. He can only choose from the keywords we are allowing, and therefore he has to choose another one. He's going for a green meeting because everything has to be green in that business today, and now he has chosen his 3 keywords. And now you can see that the guard railing even is more precise. He knows what he's going to do. Now he has added the keywords, and at the last step, he has to add a timeline. He has to think now, what is he going to do with the different MIUs he has with the different pieces of content? And he's deciding that the main publication will be, in that case, in his own print magazine, in the events magazine, and that's the whole article. But he has some photographs from that new hotel, and he says, okay, I will publish these photographs through Facebook a little bit earlier to tell the people there is a big article about it a few days later. And he has even a video about the fantastic new conference facility within that hotel, and he is publishing that not through Facebook, in that case, through YouTube, even a few days before the article itself is published. And with this methodology, he has a possibility to make for himself a timeline so that he knows quite exactly what he is going to do and what he has to fulfill in the next hours or days. And then the last step, he's deciding that he will publish the whole thing again in his own web, in eventsmagazine.de, and therefore he is now for that moment ready. He can put a dozen other things in there, but you see now that it's quite clearly described what he will do. That whole thing takes between 2 and 3 minutes to do it on the iPhone. That's all he has to do. Of course, he has to think a little bit before. That's the hard part of the job. That is peanut. That is relatively easy and fast. Well, we call it intelligent content because the content is developed upon an analytical foundation. It is custom fit for a specific persona, is in line with a clearly defined goal, is not designed as a monolithic piece, but is drafted as a sum of elements, is targeted from the first moment at the relevant channels, and is multi-channel distributed according to a fixed channel. Some colleagues in the US call it structured content. Well, and if it's done right, the wide target audience isn't as wide anymore, and they have reached more people than ever before. That's real-time data from one of our community units. You see that the reach has grown tremendously. You have to attract a lot of people at the top of the funnel to move them down the funnel to give you their money somewhere down there. And that's the principle behind it. It's the same as with any department store. They need 100,000 people in the house to sell items to 10,000. If there are only 10,000 people in the house, they will sell their items only to 1,000. It's the same with us. We need that reach, and if we gain that reach, then we can start to monetize it in different ways. But that's another presentation. Thank you.